Okay, hi everyone. Hello. Today, obviously, we are going over the Fulbright submission process. So you all have been working extremely diligently on your Fulbright applications, and so this is the culminating event of that, or at least the penultimate event. So today we're going to go over. There we go. A few final reminders, our campus deadlines, as well as the national deadline and sort of our deadline before that. Talk a little bit about the interview process and preparing for that interview process. Some last minute polishing of that proposal and statement of grant purpose, and then leave it to any questions. So frankly, if you have questions as we're going through, please feel free to stop me. This presentation is just for you all that are applying this cycle, so I'd rather you ask your question and get it out of the way. I am also trying to man the chat and stuff, but probably best to just unmute for me if that works. Also, for those of you that haven't been working with me, I'm Bonnie. I'm the assistant director for ONF. Also in attendance here we have Jesse.
Hello, friends.
Hello, friends, and Keith, who's up in OGFA. So obviously you've been working with one of us, or perhaps you've been working with Dr. Filer, but we are here today to answer those last minute questions and make sure that you all feel prepared. So campus deadlines, you're going to be seeing these dates quite a bit. ETAs, you're looking at August 23rd by 3 p.m. You should really be aiming for August 22nd so that you feel confident going into the 23rd. Same goes for those study research or the academic grants, right? The deadline is August 24th, but probably aiming for August 23rd. That way you just feel super settled when you come in for that final check-in. So, tips for success. Number one, do not wait until the deadline to begin the process of completing and submitting your official application. Hopefully that is a non-issue for everyone that is in attendance. But if that is not the case, I encourage you deeply from the bottom of my heart, this shrivel heart, to start that tonight. You need to get all of
you have or haven't.
Yeah, I know whether you have or have not, because I have access to all of that. So please, when I go in, I hope I see maybe like 4 more that are currently sent. By the end of the day, that would be brilliant. Especially for those of you that are doing the ETA, those recommenders forms, your recommenders don't get sent that information until you put their information into the system. Those of you that are doing academic and research grants, your folks can't upload their letters until they get that official email from Fulbright. So in all instances, it behooves you to do that now if you have not started. If you're still waiting for letters, this would probably be a good time, if you haven't already, to maybe nudge your recommenders like, hey, just a reminder, this is coming up next week, so that they are well aware of the time frame you're working in. I left this here because some people did want to see for the ETA recommenders the actual link. If you go there, it gives you the sample form so you can see what that looks like. Okay, so let's talk essay formatting as you go into those final checks. That statement of grant purpose is single-spaced page in size 12 font, Times New Roman, 1-inch margins, right? That should be pretty standard at this point. Your ETA's applications are 1 page for this. If you're doing academic or the study research grants, you're looking at 2 pages for this. Each of those also have their own headings. So at the top of the page, you need to have statement of grant purpose, right? Left justified for these things. Name, country, field of study. If you're doing an ETA, that field of study is just going to be English teaching assistant program. If you are doing the study research, you're going to need the specific title. So if you're doing like a master's program, you want the title of that program, right? If you're just doing an independent study, huh?
I said or thesis.
Or thesis, yeah. Just something that indicates what it is you're doing for that academic research. Keep in mind that for the ETAs, you do not need that 3rd line. So this is very specific to study research grants. Okay, some examples there, show you what that looks like. For those of you that are doing study research, that 2nd page needs to have at least that 1 line that has your last name, the country, or your last name, grant purpose, and page 2, right, at the very least. Maybe you're asking yourself, but I've run out of space. Can't I just put it in the header? No, you may not. That'll eat into your margins. So make sure that you download this. If you've been working like in the cloud or on Google, download it now. Start working in a word processor so you know exactly where page 2 starts, and put this at the top. You're going to get those red angry bars that say that something's wrong with your document. You know that, I know that, but the system won't know it when you upload it into the Fulbright, okay? So make sure that your formatting is correct. Same goes for your personal statement. This is a 1-page, single-spaced, Times New Roman, size 12 font, 1-inch margins. Personal statement, name, country, field of study. Same things apply, right? Make sure that this is all done before you come in, that everything is complete so you're not having to do this later. Last year I had to unsubmit a lot of applications on submission day so that people could just fix their document headings. That's such a bummer. All right, don't let that happen to you. Don't let that happen to us. We all want to be together on this, right? Thank you. Campus deadlines. So on the campus deadline, you will click submit on the official Fulbright application. Do you have to have all of your letters, Jesse?
Yeah.
Do you have to have your language evals, Keith?
Yes.
Do all of your essays have to be in, Eli?
Yep.
Yep. Short responses, recommendations, all of that stuff has to be in there. This is as if you were submitting to Fulbright and this was just the end of it. Everything has to be in. And the reason everything has to be in is because on that day, or actually the next day, I'm going to download all of the applications as PDF packets so that we can send those to the faculty committee. So it is imperative that all that stuff is in there. And you only have the windows to work with for check-in. So we want it all done during that time frame. Take a look now. You can see that for the ETA applications and the academic grant applications, from 9 to 3 on those respective days will be the check-in window. And we will go into a little more details with that, but suffice it to say, everything has to be submitted. If you think that something is not going to be submitted, you should talk to your advisor now, just so that we're prepared when you come in for check-in, because you still need to check in. Tips for success number 2, right? The application does not include a spell check function. So really, really important. Take care of all of that business in your Word document, in your Google Docs, all of that before you actually copy and paste. All right, so check-in day gets here. What does that actually look like? Well, conveniently for you, this is what the checklist will be on each of those days. So when you come in for your ETA, we're going to check to see, okay, have you actually submitted? Do you have a project proposal? Do you have the personal statement? Is your language eval there if it's needed? So that's on you. Make sure that you've actually checked that for your country, right? Are your 3 recommenders completed? Not enough for them to just be in the system, but have they submitted their recommendations on top of that, right? Is your, we say official transcript, it can be unofficial. It just needs to have your name and Florida State University on there, right? Or whatever other institutions you have. So that needs to be uploaded. So as long as all those things are uploaded, we will show you a list of all of the interview times, and you will get to pick one for your interview slot. Same goes for study research. You can see same things apply, a little bit more in depth because you have things like letter of affiliation attached to that. But all the same, those things are there, right? Any questions about these checklists? Okay. So, campus deadline day. As I mentioned, that will run from 9 a.m. until 3 p.m. Submit your application before you come to do the check-in, right? And we will be reviewing them on a first come, first served basis. So you can either come in person to my office, which is up on the 3rd floor. I'll be manning that, or you can come in via the power of Zoom, which we will provide the links for those later. But I believe Jesse, Keith, and myself are all going to be on Zoom at some point throughout those days doing intake.
Or in my office, Keith, I don't know.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. Keith definitely online, me, both.
Yeah, okay. So feel free to come in however you would like. We realize that this is, before the semester is actually starting. So if you're not on campus yet, or it's easier, do whatever is easiest for you. Just know that it needs to be between that 9 to 3 window. If all of those application things are met, like I mentioned, you can sign up for your Fulbright interview right then and there. There we go. They're going to be held in the first 2 full weeks of September. So I think we're going to aim for like sometimes on the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th, and then the 11th, 12th, 13th, and 14th. So it's like the Tuesday through Friday, and then the Monday through Thursday. Okay, so we try to get all of the interviews done during that time. You'll be able to see the blocks. If for some reason there's just no times that work for you or whatever, please talk to us. But obviously, like, you want to get there as soon as you can on that day so that you can sign in. If for whatever reason you do not have a complete application when you come to do the check-in, we still encourage you to check in. We still want you to do that. We'll sort of put your checklist off to the side. I will be contacting all of the people at the end of each day after 3 p.m. who do not have complete applications, but who checked in with us. The slots that are available after that will be sent to you, and it's sort of first come, first serve on who gets those slots. So it behooves you to have all of that submitted before you come to do your check-in, so that you can get a slot that better works with your schedule. Okay. Like I mentioned, once you submit, we're going to end up downloading your entire application packet. You should know that, fun fact, when you submit in the Fulbright portal, all it really does is lock you out of being able to edit your application. So the morning of your interview is when I go in and actually unlock your application. Okay, so there's only a limited amount of time that we can help with that. We want to make sure that you're meeting all of the benchmarks so that we're not having to go back and forth unlocking and relocking your application. Campus interviews. Your campus interview will be composed of different FSU faculty who themselves are previous Fulbrighters, either at the undergraduate, graduate, or professional level. So they've had experience with this process. Some of them just have regional expertise for a particular area, or they have long-term international experience, and so they've been invited to help with the panel. There are going to be about 3, 4, or 5 faculty members in each of the interview rooms meeting with you. So you'll get those Zoom links about a week before or so when we send out the reminders for that. They're about 20 to 25 minutes long. I say you should probably aim for about 20 minutes with 5 minutes that you'll have to like ask questions or after the fact. Definitely want to make sure that you are prepared beforehand with a good connection. You've got good lighting. You know your application materials front and back. If you've thought about, like, if you're going to a particular world region that has been maybe particularly active, knowing what's going on in country is always a good way to prep, right? You'll want to come about 10 minutes early, even if you're just sitting in the Zoom room. That way you are prepared and ready to go. And if you would like to practice, last year we put together a few questions through the Career Center's Big Interview program. So you can find it on their website, but there's sort of 3 sets. So there's one that's generalized Fulbright questions. There's one that's ones that are specific to study research type awards, and there's ones that are specific to ETAs. So you can go in there. You don't get feedback, but it's a video of myself, Jesse, I think Amy maybe, reading questions, reading questions to you, and then you can record yourself responding to it and then watch that recording yourself. So it's not giving you feedback about it, but it's just a chance for you to practice some of these more routine type of questions that you might expect. Anything you want to add to that? Or?
I mean, I could talk a little bit about the interviews specifically, because it really depends on the makeup of your committee, and you have no way to know what that is going to look like, what that interview's vibe will be. I've seen interviews that have been entirely just glowing feedback. No questions, absolutely just, hey, we like this, we think you should do this, you should do that. And it has just purely been a conversation. And then I have seen interviews that have been grueling, intensive questions. And there's no way to know. So, love that for you. But ways that you can prepare, like Bonnie said, knowing the ins and outs of your essays, your short responses, you're obviously not going to know your recommendations, but all of the other components of your application, I would be privy to current events, especially those that are relevant to your project that are going on in country. So maybe spend a little bit of time on Google, or read a couple of newspaper clipping, like, I don't know, whatever that takes. But then you should also maybe freshen up on your country's award page and know exactly what is expected of you for your project. I got interview questions of, well, why aren't you proficient in the language? And I'm like, well, it's not required for my award. Or have you been to the country? No, it's actually encouraged you have little experience, but these are things that if you don't know and if you can't defend yourself, it's not, the committee members are not going to go know every solid detail about what an ETA in Hungary looks like, and so you need to be well aware of your application, what is going on in your country's award page, and just be prepared for either end of the spectrum of some pretty serious, hard-hitting questions, which if your faculty member have expertise in that area and in that region, they may be a little bit more inclined to ask you those questions, and others where it is more of a casual conversation. We can't tell you which faculty members are chill and which are not, but you won't know that at the semi-finalist level if you make it that far in this application process. It is going to be, again, a mixed bag of professionals in that country. So that is the one piece of advice I would say. Don't be thrown off if the interview is maybe less than a traditional interview, but we will do our best.
And that really wraps up tips for success number 3. So
Yeah,
it's okay. Be prepared. You've been working on these applications for so long. You should feel confident in what you're presenting, right? You should feel confident in your abilities at this point. So if you've been paying attention, then this should feel like less of a defense and simply like, I'm ready, bring it, right? And that's what we hope you feel like going in. Like I said, if you want to practice, that ability is there through the big interview process to get some of those more generalized questions. But do take notes. What's up?
Last year we recorded interviews.
Yes.
And shared those with applicants so they
Yes.
didn't have to take notes and could focus on the conversation. Are we going to do that?
Yes, we're still going to record them. I still recommend taking notes just because if something pops up that you're like, oh, that sort of like the klaxons went off in my brain, I need to pay attention to that. You're more likely to remember it and look for it when you go back and watch the video than not.
Yeah.
But this year, yes, we will still be recording them, and we'll send you a copy of that after the interview so that you can reference that. Okay, sample interview questions. I think we have beaten this horse, but it's there. It's on Big Interview. Have at it. Okay, the interview evaluation. I wanted you all to see what this looks like. You can also find this on the Fulbright website. This isn't in any way a secret, but this is that campus committee evaluation form. So those of you that are going through this process with us, you have the benefit of having what could turn into potentially another letter of recommendation that is also then endorsed by Florida State, right? So at the end of this, it says, does the campus committee endorse this candidate for a Fulbright grant? It's pretty rare that the campus committee does not endorse a candidate, and that is really only happening in cases where someone is wholly unprepared, right? They have not taken the time with their materials, they have not taken their time prepping for their interview to answer anything related to their materials. So as long as you have been going through this process, getting that feedback, incorporating it, it's less likely to be an issue. Would you say that's a fair assessment?
Yeah, I would say people have not been endorsed because of under preparation or having ulterior motives for their project, aka planning to spread the gospel of whatever religion you subscribe to in that country. That is also a clear way to, that is not the purpose of the Fulbright.
And that wouldn't be stuff that's reflected in your statement of grant purpose in your personal statement. So for the committee, that would be like, okay, so what are you doing with this?
Odds are in your favor that you will be endorsed as long as you are prepared.
Yeah. So study, research, and then I also have on here the ETA. Like I said, both of these documents are available on the Fulbright website, so you have access to them beforehand if you want to see what they're going to be writing about. You know, that might inform you too about the types of questions you should expect based on the things that they're going to have to answer. So are you presenting a strong enough case for the questions that they have to respond to? Okay. All right. The coming weeks. All right, so the morning of your interview, the fellowship advisors, it's me. I'm fellowship advisors. I am going to go in and unsubmit your application. And you will have roughly 3 to 4 weeks to tweak your application until you have to resubmit. So taking the feedback that you get from faculty members during your interview, taking any, additional notes or things that, for instance, we've had people that have maybe found out about affiliations after the fact, or we've had people that had other, a faculty member bring something up and they're like, oh, I want to incorporate that in here now. That was maybe outside of Fulbright, like the interview process. All of those things you'll have a chance to incorporate in if you would like to. If you need to speak with the fellowship advisor during that time, you're welcome to contact us. I know that for most of you, or it seems like a lot of students, once they go through the interview, they just want to sit with their application and ponder hard. And that's fine too. Whatever you need, we are here to support in that process. But you have, all this to say, you have about a month to incorporate feedback or tweak that application, those application materials. I say aim to resubmit your application by October 2nd. That's a Monday. The reason being, the Fulbright national deadline is October 10th. On October 6th, they're going to cut off my access from being able to unsubmit your application. So if you submit on the 2nd and everything's done, but then you realize, oh no, I've uploaded a draft instead of my final document. I have all week to go in there and unsubmit for you so you can resubmit, right? Once the 6th rolls around, whatever's in there is just in the ether. That's it. Okay, so try to build in this buffer time for you so that you're not screeching into the 10th, at full speed. Okay. Any questions about deadlines, coming weeks, all that jazz?
I have a quick question about the interview.
Yeah.
So we should bring a notepad to take notes on feedback that the interviewers may have?
I don't think it hurts.
Okay.
Yeah, like I said, you're gonna get a video, but just as a backup, if there's stuff that you're like, okay, I want to remember that for later, maybe you want to go to a specific time in your interview, like if you know something happened about 10 minutes in that you want to reference, you can at least jot that down so you can go back.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Beyond this, it's a waiting game. So October 10th is going to come around sometime late in December, even later in January. I think last year we heard of our first decisions on Christmas, Christmas Day. Yeah. And then we really didn't hear much until the end of January. So anytime in between late December to late January is when that semi-finalist status is going to post on people's accounts. From there, if you are selected for semi-finalists, you're going to be hearing back anywhere between late February to July about whether or not you've gotten that. So once Fulbright's done, it's sort of like a set it and forget it type of thing, right? We encourage you to come in and talk to us about maybe other awards or other things that might pique your interest. Because in the words of Jesse, you should not be putting all of your fellowship eggs into one Fulbright basket.
I have said that.
You have said that many times. So I encourage you all to come and talk to us afterwards. Maybe give yourself a week or two to just like shake it out a little bit and just not be thinking so about Fulbright. But there's definitely so many other opportunities and awards out there, and you've put in so much hard work talking about what it is you want to do after graduation or after, this part of your life, that let's put that hard work towards something else. Let's talk about other avenues that you can put that time and energy into. Okay. All right. Thank you for attending. See you next week. What questions do you all have? Any?
I have another question.
Yeah.
So you said that the evaluation sheet for the interview could potentially become another like letter of recommendation. I'm not understanding that process.
Yeah, so in part of that, the questions that are asked on that evaluation form are like, how prepared do you think the student is for going abroad? How feasible is their project? There's like, in some ways, the things that they're asking, depending on how they respond to that, can shine a really positive light on your application, like even more so than the rest of your recommendation letters, because you're someone that's now hearing you talk about it in your own words, right? So it's an informal letter of recommendation in that way, but it's just another like feather in the cap of your application, that here's another chance for faculty members to back you up on what you're doing for your project. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, so it would replace one of the ones that like were already in there?
No. This goes on top. This will get attached. This is like the first page. Yeah, we attach it. So they send the faculty members send me your form, and I will spend a grueling 2 days attaching it to everyone's application. So in things like, in what ways will the applicant's qualifications and experiences contribute to their success in carrying out or conducting the proposed project? Right, so depending on how they answer that, depending on your conversation that you have with them, they may be able to go into a lot of detail there that maybe wasn't touched upon elsewhere. Another way that this comes up, this is sort of the classic example, is that people that are doing any of the language study stuff, sometimes the faculty member will note in here like that, their plans to continue studying this particular language, like they've taken all of the classes or the things that they could do at Florida State. So it's necessary for them to do this because it's more than what we currently offer. So in that way, it's like that little bit of extra information that they wouldn't necessarily have gotten from your materials, but now you have like a faculty backing on that. So this is another form, it gets attached to your application. This is separate from all of the other recommendations or all the other stuff that you submit.
Gotcha, that makes sense.
Yeah, sorry if that wasn't clear. Clearly it wasn't clear, so I apologize. Let's see. Just to confirm, for the campus deadline on August 23rd, we would come in to do a check in between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. on Zoom. Yes, if you're doing an ETA application, you need to come in sometime between 9 and 3 on Zoom or in person to do that check-in. No problem. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Okay, well, thank you for bearing with us with our little technology snafus at the beginning there. This will be uploaded to YouTube so that you all have access to it afterwards as well. You might want to just bookmark it so that over the next few weeks, if something comes up or you're curious about what to do, you can reference this and then get back to us if you have more targeted questions.
I have a question. Yeah. Is there a PDF copy or something of that very nice checklist that you showed a few slides back?
Let's see.
Because I would love to.
This guy.
Yes.
Could we attach the PowerPoint to?
Yeah, so we can attach the PowerPoint.
Okay.
The email that because I'm going to send a follow-up email that has the link to the video. It can have this attached to it. I'm also going to be holding office hours on Monday from like 9:30 until 11:30 and 1:30 to 3:30. So if you want to do like a quick check of your stuff on that day, I'm happy to do that as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Anything else? We good?
Check.
Oh.
Check.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for your time and efforts. I'm so proud of all of you, even those of you I haven't met yet. This is a
I'll
long
be more proud
task.
once you start your application.
Well, many people already have started their
Most.
application.
Most.
Most people have.
Gotta keep you on your toes.
I appreciate you all. Good luck in the next few weeks, and we'll see you next week for a check-in.
One more check.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.